We were just giving you a forecast for today and shutting it down. Hey, sometimes you hit the wrong buttons. Turn this around. Show everyone
I
how
don't
many
want to touch
buttons
it.
are on that
Yeah, we
thing.
got a whole bunch of them. My knuckles hit one of these down here, and yeah, we went the wrong direction.
And
Sorry, everybody.
his defense, he's coming off of what, 9 broken bones?
Six, only six.
6.
Yeah.
9, 6, whatever.
Still
It's
not
all the same.
used to using all of these.
He's
All
getting
right,
back.
let's dig into this forecast here, Jude, before I mess something else up.
We love you, Matthew.
Oh gosh.
Let's show everyone what's going on in the U.S. and how the
Yes.
storm, well, it really isn't even a storm right now. It's a low pressure. It's
Yeah.
energy coming in from California. You can find it out here where it is actually raining around L.A. The center of that low pressure is actually just beginning to make landfall now into California. And that's important when it comes to sampling that spin and the temperature profile and how much moisture's in it, because radiosondes that are, well, they were dropping those
A couple days ago.
aircraft,
Yep.
hurricane,
hurricane
hunters
hunters
that
went
were
out
out there. It was the only way to get it. You can't send weather balloons into it. So they actually, it's such a big storm, they were dropping radiosondes through it. Now, the weather balloons that go up today, tonight, and tomorrow will actually be able to sample it, which typically helps the information, the weather charts and computer modeling come up with a little more of an accurate output.
Yes.
So
And so that's why yesterday you saw a huge shift in the models northward. Every single one took it from, having the heaviest of the snow down in Tennessee and took it right up to Kentucky. And so that's why we saw that big shift, is because we were getting better data. And even with the latest data, there have been more shifts to the forecast track of this big storm system.
a quick dissection of all of this. So we have that curly Q there.
It looks like a cinnamon roll.
It does kind of.
All right, so that's one piece of energy. Where's the next one?
Yesterday, there was a cinnamon roll in Russia.
Yes.
So, I mean, you're talking north of Alaska, up in here. Well, that is scooting down in this direction now. There's also various jet streams. You have the subtropical jet stream. You look at that coming from Hawaii, feeding into that. There's all this moisture out in here. You have the Pacific jet stream. You have the polar jet stream. All of this is going to come together and basically spin up a big one, a big one, a big one, and then boom, it cuts up to the north, and there is going to be loads, and I mean loads, of winter weather with that storm.
Yeah.
But there's also all of those aspects that have to come together just perfectly.
Yeah. And that's what we've been talking about, this system, that there are going to be some fine tuning of the details here as we get more information in here. One of the things, of course, you need for a big winter storm system is a lot of cold air. And these wind chills up here in Canada, -54 in Winnipeg. I mean, that's just across the border. Even in Minneapolis, -18. Actual temperatures are sitting down in the mid-20s up there.
There's places up around far northern Canada,
Baker
coming
Lake,
out of the
-60.
Arctic Circle, approaching 70 below zero. No lack of cold.
No.
It's there. It's not leaving. It'll fluctuate the overall intensity, but most of Kentuckiana does not look like at any point are we going to go above freezing for this particular event. We might have some areas get close to 32 in southern Kentucky.
Southern Kentucky, maybe eastern Kentucky, closer to a center of low pressure that we'll
Yeah.
be talking about. And you notice there are a ton of watches and warnings and weather advisories associated with this and other things along the Great Lakes. But 24 states, Jude, we counted them up like 15 different times just to make sure we didn't miss one. 24 states are included in a winter storm watch or winter storm warning for this upcoming system.
Tell them what. So this morning during the show, I was trying to count all these states, and I'd get to like 23,
Did I miss
24,
25?
25. I did it about 10 times, and I think 7 out of the 10, I came up with 24.
Yeah.
Tell them what
I
I was doing when you were counting.
I was counting them, and I got 24 a few times in a row, and I was like, I feel pretty good. Let me just check again. And then Jude would come over, and he'd go 10, 7, 16, 34. Each time I'd tap on a different state. I was like, daggone it.
See, we can still have fun right now because we're not into it. We have today and tomorrow to get all errands run. This isn't the real serious part of the storm, so we can have a little fun in the weather office. But that is the biggest winter storm watch area that I can remember. I was speaking to some of my buddies yesterday that I've forecasted with before in the past, worked in different cities with, and guys I went to school with. So we're close to 50 in and around there.
Mm-hmm.
We can't specifically remember anything that much of the U.S. covered up by a winter storm watch.
Now, of course, criteria has changed over the years.
Yeah.
There are going to be people in our comment sections that I'm sure are like, well, this is nothing like 94 or
Right.
70, whatever. And it's okay. So each storm is different. And the criteria, especially with the National Weather Service, has changed over the years. I mean, at one point, there wasn't a National Weather Service.
Right.
And there was an impactful storm back then.
You're,
But
you're
this
looking
is
2 to 3 days in
Yes.
advance, and that's how much confidence is that
this
it's
is going to be big.
huge. And not, we have big winter storms, but a lot of times it'll just be over the one specific location, a few
Yeah.
states. To go from almost coast to coast, California to
At least the Intermountain
seaboard,
West, all the
Atlantic
way to the
seaboard.
eastern. Yeah.
Unreal. Break down some of the things that we have high levels of confidence
First
with.
thing I want to say is high level of confidence that this is not a Friday event. I've already seen people in the chat asking, is this Friday? Is this Friday?
Really?
Nothing on Friday. Yes, nothing. We want to make that as clear as possible. Nothing today, nothing Friday. This is Saturday through maybe very early Monday, most likely Sunday night. So high confidence that it begins Saturday afternoon. So even Saturday morning, people are flying out from Louisville International. People are trying to travel to different areas. I've had lots of folks ask me about travel conditions. We're good Saturday morning, especially if you're heading east. Now, if you're heading west, well, maybe you run into it a little bit earlier than the rest of us. And then the winter storm impacts are going to last far beyond the system, but the snowfall lasts through about Sunday night. Heaviest snow, I think, is an easy, I mean, you've got it on here, Jude, 10 plus inches. Probably,
Where we see it,
yeah.
where that band is set up, there's ample moisture to easily support 10 inches. That could be conservative.
Yes.
That there's no reason right now to be like 15 inches. I mean,
Right.
look, it's going to be big. There's going to be awful things that come out of this. 10 inches easily doable where it stays all snow, or at least mostly snow. By the way, sleet does count as snow accumulation.
Right.
So if you pile up a couple inches of sleet, that is also
However,
added in as snow.
a couple inches of sleet, if it had not been sleeting and it had been snow, it would be a lot more snow.
That could, if you have 2 inches of sleet, that could take away 6 inches of snow.
So that's
7
why we're
inches of
talking
snow.
about sleet contamination. We've said that a few times over the past couple of days. If there's sleet contamination in here, it will reduce your snowfall totals quite a bit. And that's why we haven't put out a full-on snow map for who gets what yet, because we're still trying to find that delineation, that line. Where is it mostly sleet? Where is it mostly snow? And where does there a transition in between? And then, a new development recently is that it does look more likely that ice develops in Kentucky. Now, where at? Most likely going to be in the southern portions of Kentucky, but could be spreading northward, maybe up to the parkways, maybe a little bit further north. We've
I
still
would
got more
say
details to look at.
I-64.
You think this could be the northern
I
extent?
I think we have a decent chance of getting the northern extent of the sleet up to Interstate 64. Cut it from Moorhead, Lexington, right in towards Louisville, and then it should curl down. But I would not rule out I-64 locations up to about Louisville, over to Lexington, to work into some sleet at some point. I wouldn't say absolutely that's happening, but anyone that has the confidence to say no way, that takes some
Right.
takes some gull.
And I know a lot of people are worried about the freezing rain aspect. The good thing that I think we can say here is that we're very confident that snow falls first and then ice on top of that if we do get a freezing rain scenario.
First wave of snow comes in Saturday afternoon with
Yep.
temperatures 10 degrees, 12 degrees, 13
It's gonna be very
degrees,
cold.
fluff coming down Saturday afternoon through 9 o'clock Saturday evening.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at all snow pretty much area wide, most likely, maybe some sleet starting to head into far southern Kentucky near the Cumberland Parkway. That's going to establish at least a few inches.
Yeah.
At least. And then what we get coming in overnight Saturday going into Sunday, that's probably the main show as we really tap into that Gulf moisture
Mm-hmm.
combined with the Pacific moisture that it once had. And that's when it's like game on. This thing turns into a big storm.
Yep. Ton of moisture to work with here.
This is the potential liquid.
Yeah.
How many times do you hear people ask, hey, Now, if all this rain was snow, how much would that be?
People ask that all the time.
A
And
good average is what?
10 to 1 is what we
So
tend to go off of, but it could be higher than that. It could be lower than that.
1 inch of rain, more often than not, equals 10 inches of snow.
Yeah.
You
got
look at the amounts here.
some places easy 1 to maybe 2 inches of rain in parts of eastern Kentucky. Now, some of those places that are getting the highest liquid totals are also going to see higher rainfall totals, higher sleet totals,
Freezing rain.
freezing rain potential. And so lower snowfall down in that direction just because it's a little bit warmer in those areas.
So we wanted to show you that map just so you see how much juice we're working into. And if we're telling you odds are favoring not going above freezing, all of that liquid would be some sort of frozen snow,
Right.
sleet, freezing rain. Here you go, Matthew.
All right.
Noontime Saturday. You better have gotten done whatever you needed to have done.
Right. If you needed to go shopping, if you wanted to get snow tires, something like that with this event, I don't know. I'm sure that some people got balding tires and you don't want to be out there on this type of stuff because the snow starts Saturday afternoon, continues through the evening, and then you're going to watch this pink area down to the south start to edge its way northward. And that's very important for determining how much snow we get versus sleet and ice. I think that that area of low pressure that you see down near the Gulf, Jude, that is one thing that you've really been hitting on the past couple of days.
Yeah, as it slowed down, that energy in California, that is slowed. The pressure's dropping. That low should be intensifying. Tell everyone goodbye. You can't just walk off like
You're
that.
right. You're right.
Te-
I love you guys. Goodbye. I got to get ready for the midday news. I was getting ready to head out, and she was like, "Get back here."
You
and sit
can't
down."
just sneak out. He'll be on WDRB.
I was doing
News
an
in a couple
Irish,
minutes.
what is it? Irish close or whatever. When exit,
yeah,
Irish
Mike
exit.
Marshall does that all the time.
Leaves the party without saying anything. Goodbye, everybody. We're going to have more on this and the 11 o'clock news. Jude is going to take it over from here and have it until then, all right? See you guys later.
Thanks, Matthew.
You're welcome, brother.
I'll be in the weather office here shortly. So this low pressure, the big red L, down here is going to begin to intensify. And here's the thing. Where does it go? Does it go east? Does it cut north? Does it go really north? Let's talk about some possible solutions and why it's probably going to do what we think it's going to do. Arctic high pressure, funneling down, cold air at the surface, winds are from the north-northeast. I mean, this is a massive area of extremely cold and extremely dry air. Well, if it's moving from Pennsylvania, West Virginia, down through the Carolinas, I mean, that's pummeling temperatures into the teens and 20s into the Carolinas. Okay, that's important because if it's moving that way, it cannot get over the mountains. It stops. So as this low pressure is developing and getting stronger, that low pressure is a lot of warmth. You have this cold air damming, cold air wedging. Sometimes you might hear meteorologists mention that. It is wedging and damming on the east side of the Smoky Mountains. That can help force the developing storm off to the north, and that's what the trends in the last 24 to 36 hours has absolutely done. So this low is going to do what I refer to as a Smoky Mountain Sidewinder, which is a climatological great setup for significant winter around here. And the reason we stay on the cold side at the surface, remember those winds that I was mentioning from the northeast? So we have cold winds at the surface working down here. We never get into that side of the storm where the surface winds cut in from the south, at least in most areas. So we would keep that temperature staying below freezing since the winds would be from the east or the northeast. As that low pressure moves up the Smoky Mountains, you're talking about a lot of moisture on the backside. If this storm decides to move up farther to the west and maybe head up in between Jackson and Lexington and Ashland, somewhere in here, well, there's going to be more of a warm nose that absolutely pours into southern Kentucky, central Kentucky, and we could briefly go above freezing. Lexington, Jackson, down towards Columbia, Campbellsville University, maybe briefly going above freezing if that low pressure takes a little bit more of a westerly track. But a Smoky Mountain Sidewinder, I'm telling you, it usually brings all of that air from the Gulf and keeps a steady bomb of precip, which will be snow, sleet, and unfortunately some freezing rain. So now that we've set that up, we're going to look at Saturday night going into Sunday morning. We're taking that low up into Alabama. We're going to take it up towards Knoxville, in between Knoxville and Cookeville, and then up into eastern Kentucky. This is Sunday morning at 8 o'clock. That pink area is now up close possibly to I-64. So this is why we're mentioning that there could be a decent amount of sleet mixing in, maybe even as far north as Louisville, over towards Lexington. That is a plausible outcome, and anyone that tells you it's not would be lying to your face right now. That's just trying to get all the snow hounds super excited that it would stay all snow. I think the smartest thing to mention would be to absolutely say that sleet line could make it up to around Louisville. So from Sunday morning heading into Sunday afternoon, as that low goes east, nothing but cold air pours in all over. There's also dry air cutting in with that. Temperatures would be falling. I would expect highs in the 20s to make it. Definitely we should get up into the 20s in Louisville on Sunday, but in the afternoon as that pulls off to the east, cold air is going to come in, so we'll start to drop in a big way, it looks like, once this thing moves even farther out, as that frigid Arctic air comes in with a fresh snow and ice pack. As we look at Monday and Tuesday, we'll discuss that in a second. So the back edge flurries and light snow, wind whipped snow showers, accumulations will be tapering off as we head into our Monday early morning. There could be some flurries, but I certainly don't think we'd be looking at anything that would be too serious at that point. So that's that particular storm system there, as we see that low pressure start to move off to the Atlantic seaboard and maybe turn into a nor'easter as it re-intensifies and takes hold with the northeast. That's why we have winter storm watch. Winter storm watch is in effect for Maine, or going to be going into effect for Maine, all the way down towards Massachusetts, Rhode Island, all that. It's just an enormous winter storm. But we would then shift our focus to the cold, and if we have 6 inches of snow and sleet on the ground, 10 inches of snow and sleet on the ground, 14 inches of snow on the sleet on the ground, 85 feet of snow and sleet on the ground, it doesn't matter if that is that fresh ice box that we have down at the ground, and then if skies end up clearing going into Monday night and Tuesday morning, we're talking about pipe bursting cold, way below zero, not a wind chill, a real temperature. Now, a lot of that would have to come in because the sky's clear. If we keep it cloudy, that would help maybe hold us to around zero. But if we're clear, you could easily be looking at temperatures that go 5 to 15 below zero. Here's one of the latest updates with that model run when you're looking at ice potential. Freezing rain, raindrops coming down, the surface temperatures below freezing, those raindrops hit something, start to freeze up. This is what would turn into icicles. Most of the significant freezing rain looks to be in southern Kentucky, Tennessee, back into Arkansas, and then over in that cold air damming location that we mentioned from the Carolinas up through the Virginias. There's more than likely going to be at least a period of some freezing rain in our viewing area in southern Kentucky, nearing the parkways. This does not look like a 2009 freezing rain situation where we had 1 to 2 inches of that massive icicles, power lines down. It does not look like that. It looks like more sleet than freezing rain. Sleet, ice pellets that come down like little BBs, ice balls start bouncing around, piles up, makes it difficult to remove piles of snow and sleet, makes it real heavy. So when you're talking about a ton of sleet and snow combined, it's going to be around for a while. But certainly the likelihood for some freezing rain and especially sleet to grab hold of Kentucky from Saturday night into early Sunday as we get that warmer push of air aloft. And when I say warmer air, I mean going above freezing. Once you establish yourself few thousand feet up in the sky. You have snow that falls, and all of a sudden, say at 5,000 feet, it hits a temperature of 40 degrees. That flake melts, then it comes down. If it hits enough cold air below freezing before it hits the surface, it freezes up into an ice ball. If it doesn't have enough cold to turn into an ice pellet, well, then it's a raindrop that comes down, and then it's, say, 25 degrees at the surface. That raindrop begins to freeze. So that's the ice potential, and definitely stay abreast to that, because I just hate it. Everyone hates freezing rain and sleet. This thing is still not a fully developed storm, so there's going to be fluctuations. Another 50 miles or so farther to the north and west, and there's going to be more ice that's involved. Now we go to updated comparisons between the European model, and we'll show you the American model, just two of these that I personally have been showing you all week on the morning show, because it helps you really grab hold of the overall trends. When you see this, and if you've been watching this week, there's a clear-cut, definitive answer that each day it's come a little farther north, it's come a little farther north. No matter what model you're looking at, the trend has been to take it farther north, as this has become an even stronger storm than what it looked like a few days ago. So it does make sense. And when you look at everything, it's like, yeah, this is why when we saw a forecast for Nashville on Monday, and it was like, Nashville's the bullseye of snow, there's going to be 20 inches. It was like, hold your horses. Now snow lovers in the deep south are livid. It's like, well, yeah, that's why you don't start throwing that out, especially down in the deep south, getting people panicked. Now it looks like Nashville is going to cruise into the 40s as they start out with that awful mix. They'll probably be in the 40s for a little while. But according to the European model, along the Ohio River into southern Indiana looks to be a really good chance for the heaviest snow. I can't argue with that. Not right now. Certainly some of the highest probabilities would indicate some of the heaviest snow along the Ohio River into southern Indiana. Conversely, we're looking at the American model, the GFS, the Global Forecast Model, Arkansas, all of Kentucky, into Virginia, Pennsylvania, up to Philadelphia. This just booms heavy snow. I mean, it's almost like a perfect cutout as you look at the bluegrass state with the heaviest snow projected in that location. Personally, right now, I think that's too far south, but even that trend on the American model has been coming north slowly but surely. It's sort of leveled out in the last 12 to 18 hours with most of the model guidance. So it pinpoints the Ohio Valley for the greatest chance of snow. That's where we had been mentioning 10 inches. There's probably going to be some conservative amounts when you mention 10 inches, because if you get into that heaviest snow band, easily a good opportunity to exceed 10 inches where it stays all snow. So that's the look at the American model. I'm going to cut back. Let me see here. I'm going to cut back to this graphic for anyone that's just tuning in, give you an update, and we'll run through our future radar one more time before we shut this down. When I was working in Indianapolis, we had a news director. He was sharp. I mean, he was on it, and he loved weather, which is actually a good thing because he made the weather team better. A lot of times you'll hear meteorologists say, we're not exactly sure where the heaviest snow is going to be, like we're telling you right now. We're not sure where the storm path is going to be, where this low pressure is going to track. When you're days in advance of a storm, there are so many unknowns. He came into us one day, he's like, let's sit down, let's talk. I'm growing tired of you guys telling everyone we're not sure about this, we're not sure about this. That's important to pass along, but we want to know what you are positive about. What's your confidence level? Tell us things that you are confident in that's going to happen. So this morning I did want to give you 4 headlines where the confidence is extremely high, rather than saying we're not sure about this and we don't know about that. It really struck a chord with me. I thought that this makes sense. Try to pass along information like this more often. So snow is likely to begin during the afternoon on Saturday as it quickly breaks out. This will be a west to east wall of dry, fluffy, powdery snow, not heavy, wet snow. The temperature is going to be around 10 degrees when this is falling. Pavement temperatures will be in the 20s. It is sticking. And it's probably going to be steady. It might be heavy for a little bit Saturday afternoon through 9 o'clock Saturday evening. That comes in pretty good accumulation with that. I mean, we should have many, many areas pick up more than 3 inches on that first wave. That's probably a little bit conservative, but we should at least be able to get 3 inches. A lot of us have a good chance of going above that on the first wave. Winter storm does not end after that leaves. We'll taper things off for a little while Saturday evening, going to around midnight. But then the winter storm really fires up overnight Saturday heading into Sunday. It doesn't look like the snow is going to end until overnight Sunday into Monday morning as it wraps up with some flurries and light snow showers and windier conditions as that cold air starts to wrap back in around the low pressure. So this is going to be a Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, and then finally done with accumulation by Monday morning. Heaviest snow zone is likely to bring around 10 inches. Probably going to have places picking up more than 10 inches as long as that stays all snow. Sleet could contaminate it, but it doesn't look like that sleet line is going to get farther north in the Ohio River into southern Indiana. So it does look like southern Indiana has a really good chance to stay all snow. That could very well include Louisville near I-64, but we mentioned earlier how that ice threat is growing. The sleet threat is growing as it moves up towards potentially I-64, Louisville to Lexington. That's why the confidence is high for more ice across Kentucky, mainly sleet, but some freezing rain is possible coming out of the Tennessee area into southern Kentucky. We might be able to get freezing rain up to the western Kentucky and Bluegrass Parkway for a while. That doesn't mean it's icicles dangling everywhere and trees are snapping. We're not telling you it's that much of a freezing rain situation, but there's probably going to be a decent amount of time of some freezing rain, at least into southern Kentucky. Now we'll run it to the liquid potential. So Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, you can follow the pathway right up to the north and northeast as this thing's going to drop some serious moisture. This is the liquid amounts. If it was all rain, if this entire map was just all rain falling, and now I'm going to use this to parlay into the, well, if all that snow was rain, we get that question so often. And this is a good chance to give you an idea when you're talking about the liquid to snow ratio. So 10 to 1 is usually just an average, what ends up average most of the time. If you get an inch of rain, you have 10 inches of snow. If it's a lot colder, you can get an inch of rain and maybe 15 inches of snow. Or if it's a lot warmer, if that temperature's 33 degrees, you have an inch of rain, maybe you only get 7 or 8 inches of snow. But 10 to 1 liquid to snow ratio is usually how it works. And when you're expecting Kentuckiana to not go above freezing, at least most of us never even get above freezing, with an inch, inch and a half, parts of Kentucky maybe hitting the 2-inch threshold of all liquid, that's a massive amount. So that's what we're working with going into our radar simulation. I hope this is going to help you plan. I hope we have a decent audience watching right now so you can get an idea of how quickly that smaller area of snow and ice that is in the Central Plains and Southern Plains all the way down almost the entire state of Texas, how this turns into such a large storm system. Noontime on Saturday, some light snow headed into western Kentucky over to Evansville, and this is going to come on in a hurry. The temperature's about 10 degrees locally as that snow breaks out. Between 2 and 6 o'clock, we should have snow, light to moderate snow all over the place. There's going to be some streaks in there where it snows heavily. and you can't keep up with it. The pavement's so cold, road conditions will be awful as we look at that, as we start to look at that Saturday afternoon going into Saturday night, especially. Road conditions will be terrible. Everything's sticking. They're not going to be able to keep up with it. They're probably going to let that fall. This is just a guess. They'll probably let that fall, and then as it tapers off a bit going into the evening, then really hit it. That's what I would expect if this pans out how it's looking now. So we'll get somewhat of a taper off effect, and then after midnight, going into Sunday morning, this thing gels. That low pressure's getting stronger. It's heading up towards the Smoky Mountains, the old Smoky Mountain Sidewinder. There you go. These are notorious to give us winter storms around here, especially of this intensity of what's happening. You see that sleet and freezing rain represented with the pink moving north. Approaching I-64, heavy snow from Louisville to Indianapolis. Travel not advised anywhere at that point from Saturday night going into Sunday. Travel more than likely not advised at any point Sunday. And that's the Ohio Valley. Going to the east, there'll be some wraparound snow, lighter snow going down to Tennessee. That'll be on top of some of the icing that they have from Memphis heading up into western Kentucky. And then some of those leftover snow showers overnight Sunday going into Monday morning. With the cold anticipated behind this on the new snow and ice pack, which bounces any solar radiation, any radiation that gets through, even on cloudy days when you don't see sun, there's solar radiation getting through. You can't absorb it. So snow bounces it back up. When you get a clear sky or clearing sky, when that comes in tandem, you're talking about just earth-shattering type of cold that can happen. You have to have the clear sky for it. Two scenarios on this. Will probably be near zero going into Monday morning if some of those clouds dissipate. I'm not that confident that the clouds will be gone by Monday morning. Monday night into Tuesday morning, I have more confidence right now that those clouds will be scattered. And if they are scattered, we're going to have some sub-zero readings. If it goes crystal clear, don't be shocked if there's some areas that are around 15 or so below zero. And that's big time. That is absolutely big time. It's going to be cold for the remainder of the month. It's going to be cold, really cold for the first part of February. There's going to be a lot of ice forming on ponds and lakes. This is harsh winter. It's just the pattern that's going to set up for a while. Snow is not going to be leaving. The sleet pack isn't going to be leaving for a long time. This does remind me a lot of what we had last year. Remember the January last year of all the snow that happened, and we had some of that sleet and freezing rain, and then it got cold, and it was almost the entire month of January we had snow on the ground. This looks like an extended period of a couple weeks of that, at least into the foreseeable future, going into early February. So I would expect Monday, many schools to be out. Tuesday, there's still so much clearing to happen. These counties, I live out in Oldham County, and I get it. These roads, you start getting farther out and farther out, they're awful. They're nasty. They're windy. They're hilly. They're protected down in the valley by trees. They don't get as much sun in there. It makes it difficult to get everything cleared off the roads. Tuesday, there's going to be schools out. There could be schools out possibly into Wednesday or so, depending on the intensity, the end result intensity of this storm. So just get into that preparation mode of what we're looking at now. I really hope this helps you plan, and I'll throw out this last disclaimer right now. There's going to be adjustments made to this. There's about 3 or 4 more computer models coming in right now that Matthew, Mark, and Rick will be checking out with a new forecast that will be updated. We make tailored changes to that coming up at 4, 5, 6 o'clock, 10 and 11 o'clock tonight. There's a good chance we will fluctuate the snow map. I spoke to Mark earlier. He's going to have a version of more specifics with highlighting some counties locally where the snow and sleet and freezing rain, and we'll put some amounts on there going into tonight. But this is something that will be adjusted maybe every 6 hours or so, and that's what you have to do. I mean, very rarely do you get a forecast where you throw out a snow amount and it doesn't change 24 or 48 hours up to that, leading up to that event. I mean, that's like never happens. You always typically have to make some sort of, adjustment to that. So expect change. Don't listen to this forecast and think we've got it, it's done. Don't listen to tonight's forecast thinking that's it, I don't need to pay attention to anything else, I heard it, we're good. You're going to want to keep checking in. You can get some dramatic changes, all depending on the 50-mile, 30-mile, whatever adjustments with the track of that low. So more freezing rain, more sleet, maybe more snow, depending on how that sets up. And we are right in that bullseye. Some of the worst of this winter storm is directly on top of all of Kentuckiana. This is what we're here for. We also thank Corrigan, Swope. They help us out here with these streaming events. Hopefully you show them some love. We love them for helping us put all this together, this entire studio. They're awesome. And gosh, you don't forget about your phone and the WDRB weather app as you're out and about. It's all the reminder times as this winter storm comes in with high anxiety. It gets everyone revved up, and for good reason. Just know today, tonight, tomorrow, no reason to be revved up because